So Orochi's been in the work for years, first previewed on Nobleboy's channel back in 2018, almost 4 years ago at the time of this recording. Back then, Nobleboy described it as the next big thing after Bloodlust, and was meant to be the next and possibly final top 1. This level gives off the vibe of being the final boss of Jump Dash, and was no doubt far ahead of its time in terms of difficulty. Fast forward 4 years, seriously the first preview is uploaded on April 23, 2018, and the level is relatively inactive compared to many other semi-impossible upcoming top 1s like Ascension to Heaven, Death Corridor, Silent Clubstep, Eternal Night, and Azure Flare. In these 4 years, Zodiac, Tartarus, and Slaughterhouse all took the number 1 spot for varying longer periods of time, along with other levels for shorter periods of time like Sakupen Circles or the Golden. So that leads to a few questions of this video. Will Orochi be top 1 someday, withstanding the test of time? Will Space UK say it's easier than Slaughterhouse, and will it be the final top 1? Well, while Orochi is top 1 worthy by today's standards, there are many other upcoming top 1s that are about the same difficulty. In my previous video on upcoming top 1s harder than Abyss of Darkness, link in the description, I stated that there are 10 upcoming top 1s harder than AOD, Orochi included. Or at least levels that are most likely harder than AOD, I don't know for sure. Any of the 9 other levels could possibly be verified before Orochi, and if harder could take the number 1 spot. But most of them don't stand much of a chance. Here are those levels for the respective reasons. Andromelech is so far from the decoration being finished, not to mention the lengthy verification process, so that will take even more time than Orochi by far. Probably not going to be verified in its unnerfed state until I'm in my 40s when 2.2 is released. Misanthrope I think is being split into 2, if not, it's probably being nerfed. It's quite unclear, but either of those outcomes eliminates that level. Heliopolis is going to be worked on after Return 0 and probably isn't harder than Orochi anyways. The human limit is being nerfed and renamed. Silent Clubstep, it might not even be as hard as Abyss of Darkness, let alone be harder than Orochi, but it might be, I don't know. And Aiden GD's Azure Flare is so ridiculously hard it won't be verified in time, and Aiden will probably just buff it more anyways. This only leaves 3 levels to challenge Orochi, or 4, now the rewriting of this script. Those levels are Eternal Night, Death Corridor, and Ascension to Heaven. I don't know much about the difficulty of these levels relative to each other, but I think it will come down to Death Corridor versus Orochi with the possibility of Grief by Ice Cave shaking things up. My probably incorrect prediction for the order of verifications is Eternal Night, then Grief, then Ascension to Heaven, then Death Corridor, and finally Orochi. This is because Swyborg is closer to verifying Eternal Night than anyone else is close to the respective top 1s. Grief is almost entirely wave-based, meaning that if you master the wave game mode, you can probably beat the level. Ascension to Heaven will probably be top 1. I think there is most likely a significant skill gap between that and Grief. And then I think Death Corridor would be verified after Ascension to Heaven because Kugel is more active than Nobleboy, but is still relatively inactive compared to the verifiers of the previous 3 levels. Ultimately, Nob will probably buff Orochi to go beyond whatever level is top 1 at the time, whether it's Grief, Abyss of Darkness, Silent Clubstep, Ascension to Heaven, or some random 2.2 level that is yet to be planned. And while it's so far into the future it's very difficult to predict, I think I have an answer that is most likely the correct one, at least for now. Orochi will most likely be top 1 unless both a level that is harder is verified, which is very unlikely, and Nobleboy doesn't super buff it to be even harder than said top 1. So, yes. This only leaves a few questions we might not know the answer to. Will Orochi be the final top 1? Will Nobleboy verify this before 2.2 comes out in like the next 5 years? Will Space UK still say Orochi is easier than Slaughterhouse? And will you subscribe to this channel? Those questions will be answered now. No? Probably not. Definitely. I hope so. So yeah, thanks for watching, and thanks for 600 subscribers. I will try to post some community posts for like future videos and things like that. Not entirely sure what I'm going to do with that now that I've unlocked it, but I think I have a pretty good idea.